More than a century ago, a remote lighthouse stood alone on a rocky island far beyond the mainland shipping routes. The structure was known as Blackstone Lighthouse. Perched atop towering cliffs and surrounded by violent seas, it served as the only beacon for hundreds of miles. For decades, sailors relied on its light to navigate safely through dangerous waters. The lighthouse keeper was a man named Thomas Reed. According to official records, Reed faithfully maintained the beacon for nearly 20 years. He rarely left the island. Few visitors ever made the journey. And over time, stories began to spread among local fishermen. Stories about strange lights beyond the horizon. Stories about voices carried across the ocean wind. Most dismissed the tales as superstition. But in the autumn of 1912, something happened that transformed Blackstone Lighthouse into legend. On the evening of October 17th, a violent storm swept across the sea. Massive waves battered the cliffs. Thunder echoed through the darkness. And as the storm intensified, Thomas Reed transmitted an unusual message to the mainland. At first, nothing seemed alarming. He reported worsening weather conditions, strong winds, heavy rain, poor visibility. Then the message changed. Reed claimed he could see another light beyond the ocean, a light that did not belong to any ship, a light that appeared where no light should have existed. Authorities assumed he had mistaken a distant vessel for something unusual, but Reed insisted otherwise. The light remained stationary. It never moved, and according to him, it seemed to be growing brighter. Hours later, another transmission arrived. This time, Reed sounded frightened. He claimed the mysterious light was responding to the lighthouse itself. Whenever the beacon rotated toward the sea, the distant light brightened in return. When the lighthouse beam turned away, the strange glow faded. The mainland operators were concerned, but they believed exhaustion and isolation were affecting the keeper's judgment. They instructed him to rest and continue monitoring conditions. For several hours, silence followed. Then, shortly after midnight, a final transmission reached shore. The message contained only a single sentence: "The light is calling back." Moments later, communication with Blackstone Lighthouse ended completely. No further messages were received, but Thomas Reed was never heard from again. The following morning, a supply vessel was dispatched to investigate. When the crew arrived, they found the lighthouse standing exactly as expected. The beacon remained active. The machinery functioned normally. Nothing appeared damaged. Yet, Thomas Reed had vanished. His bed had not been slept in. His coat remained hanging beside the door. His dinner sat untouched on the table. There was no sign of a struggle, no sign of an accident, and no sign of where he had gone. A search of the island produced no answers. The cliffs were examined. The shoreline was searched. The surrounding waters were surveyed. Nothing was found. Without evidence, authorities concluded Reed had likely fallen into the sea during the storm. The case was closed. But the story refused to disappear. Over the following decades, sailors continued reporting strange lights near the island. Some described glowing shapes beyond the horizon. Others reported hearing voices carried across the wind. Many refused to approach Blackstone Lighthouse after dark. The stories became local legend, and eventually, the lighthouse was abandoned. For nearly 100 years, it stood empty, its windows dark, its halls silent, its mysteries forgotten. Then, in the present day, a team of researchers decided to investigate the legend once and for all. Their goal was simple: separate fact from fiction. They traveled to the island carrying cameras, historical records, and modern equipment. Most expected to debunk the stories. Instead, they discovered something far stranger. The first day revealed nothing unusual. The lighthouse appeared exactly as expected. Weathered walls, dust-covered rooms, a structure slowly surrendering to time. But after sunset, strange events began. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation. Radio signals became distorted. Unexplained sounds echoed through empty hallways. Shortly before midnight, one of the investigators discovered a locked cabinet hidden behind a wall panel. Inside were documents dating back to 1912. Among them was a journal belonging to Thomas Reed. The final entries were deeply unsettling. Reed repeatedly described a second light beyond the sea. He claimed it appeared every night. Each time, it seemed closer. The last pages became increasingly frantic. The handwriting deteriorated. Sentences ended abruptly. And the final entry contained a chilling warning. Do not answer the light. The warning immediately divided the team. Some wanted to leave the island. Others wanted answers. The lighthouse blueprints revealed something impossible. According to official records, the structure ended at the lantern room. Yet investigators discovered a staircase continuing upward, a staircase that should not have existed. Following it higher, they eventually reached a hidden door concealed above the lantern chamber. Behind it was a room that appeared nowhere on the blueprints. No records mentioned it. No one knew it existed. At the center of the room stood an enormous antique radio. The machine looked impossibly old. Its metal surfaces were covered in strange symbols. Its design matched no known equipment. Then, without warning, the radio activated. Lights flickered across its controls. Static filled the room. And from the speakers came a voice identifying itself as Thomas Reed. The investigators froze. The transmission sounded distorted, broken, yet unmistakably human. The voice claimed the lighthouse had never been communicating with ships. Instead, it had been communicating with something else. Something beyond the sea. Something beyond the horizon. Something waiting in the darkness. Then every light inside the lighthouse suddenly went out. The building fell silent. Outside, another light appeared, far beyond the shoreline, brighter than any ship, larger than any beacon. Then the radio transmitted one final message. The light has answered. The transmission ended, the radio fell silent, and the strange glow remained motionless beyond the sea. The following morning, authorities arrived at the island after losing contact with the research team. What they found shocked them. The investigators had vanished. Every camera remained behind. Every piece of equipment remained exactly where it had been left. Yet not a single member of the team could be found. Searches of the island produced nothing. The cliffs revealed no clues. The ocean yielded no answers. The team had simply disappeared. To this day, Blackstone Lighthouse remains abandoned. No official explanation has ever been provided. Skeptics argue that the events were exaggerated over time. If Thomas Reed truly vanished in 1912, who was speaking through the radio a century later? This has been the Abyss Archives, documenting the unexplained.